सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. So we left off last week at the end of the second chapter. It was quite a journey for us. 3 weeks we spent on it because there's 72 shlokas. And the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita reads like a table of contents. Whatever is coming up in this great divine discourse, everything is contained briefly in that second chapter, Sankhya Yoga. Now, this is in a question-answer format. So in this third chapter, Arjuna starts with some more confusion and delusion. He says, Bhagavan, just up till now, you've talked about how great this path of knowledge is. You say knowledge is the only thing that liberates. That's what takes me out of my misconceptions. That's what lifts this veil of moha, and I come to this truth. But then yet you're here again telling me to fight in the war. Because that's how Bhagavan's still under the chapter saying, this knowledge is what will save you, this is what will liberate you, but still go do this action of fighting the war. And then Arjuna says, Tat kim karmani ghore mam. Ghora karma you're making me do. Something so awful, this doesn't make sense. You said knowledge is better than action, yet you're making me go for action here. What should I do then? Tell me that one way that I can get out of this mess that I've brought myself into. Don't confuse me with two different things. Now, what's Arjuna's issue here? Bhagavan Krishna was very clear in his discourse. Very clear, saying that even though knowledge is what is to be ultimately sought, you must still do your duty, that is still to fight as a Kshatriya in this war. It's like that scene from A Bug's Life, where this ant is explaining to a baby ant. The baby is complaining that, I am so small, everyone dismisses me, no one sees me as worthwhile, they see me as insignificant, I'm never going to grow out of this. The ant complains. And the mentor ant tells her, he picks up a rock and he says, look at this rock right here. Imagine it's a seed. Right now this seed is tiny, like a little acorn. Now look at the tree behind me. Even that big tree came from this tiny seed. That's how much potential is in there. Just like that, you're a tiny seed. You'll become a big tree someday as well. And the baby ant listens to the entire discourse that's given. And what's the conclusion she comes to? But that's a rock, is what she says. He says, yes, I know it's a rock, but just imagine. Let's use our imaginations here. It's a seed that becomes that tree. You get it? Yeah, but it's a rock. And they go back and forth like this until the mentor finally bursts out, I know it's a rock. I can't find a seed anywhere, so I picked up a rock. Imagine that it's a seed. Arjuna is in the same position here. Bhagavan Krishna has just given him the elixir of life, that very message that can save him from every despondency in the future. And Arjuna is pointing, saying, yeah, but that's a rock. Saying that, yes, you still want me to fight, though. So, mandabuddhi. In that moment of great pain and anguish and lack of determination, no matter what is said, no matter how clearly, how brilliantly, it will not go into the student's head. Sometimes our Bhavivihar teachers come to me also feeling dejected. They say, we planned, especially at the high school level, we planned this awesome lesson today, we've put so much work into it, we even read the material beforehand for a change, all of that, and then we do it in class, and the kids are not impressed, they don't pay attention, they still talk amongst themselves, they're on their cell phones, they complain. I can identify with that, because I also teach people. But what I tell them is, look, there's a spectrum of students in every single class. Say 20 Bhavivihar kids in your class, you're going to have 3 or 4 who are your superstars. You can get up there, you can say the earth is flat, and that the sun is, sun revolves around the earth. You can say all these things. They'll still say, oh, that was an awesome class. They answer all your questions. They're always interested. 3 or 4 kids. There's about 5 or 6 kids out of those 20. You can pull a rabbit out of a hat. You can do backflips. You can cure cancer, everything like that. They still will never be impressed with what you do. There's those 5 or 6. And then there's those people in the middle. That's your real group there. That's how you gauge whether it was a good class or not, based on their responses, their interest, their engagement. So like that, I say don't get too dejected. Some students are just, they're like that. None of your kids are like that, by the way. It's other people's kids. Those other people, second session kids, that's all of them. They wake up late and then they come here. It's not you guys at all. I would never blame you or your parenting. So there's different kinds of students like this. And Arjuna is the type who is still in his despondency. So we ask that question, tell me the one way, either knowledge or action, which one is it that gets me out of the mess that I'm in right now? And Bhagavan Krishna answers his question with the most amazing answer. He says, look, I get your question about the one path. My simple answer to you is, it's a twofold path. It is one path with 2 parts to it. It's not that it's choosing either or, a zero-sum game, it's sequential. First, the path of action comes, then that path of knowledge comes. Now, even in Bhagavan Sri Adi Shankaracharya Ji's Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, his commentary, at this point, there's an objection that's raised. That Bhagavan Krishna did not answer the question. He gave him a lawyer-like non-answer there, saying that it is one path but has 2 parts to it. He's manipulating the answer. The situation here is, yes, the guru is tasked with answering the questions of the shishya. But nowhere does it say that if the student is asking a baseless, premiseless, directionless question, the guru is under no compunction to answer that. They can change the question as they see fit. That's what Bhagavan Krishna is doing here. He says the secret to getting out of this mess is first engage in action, let action have its effect, then go for knowledge. Now, one common misconception to clear up right from the beginning. We hear often that follow karma or follow jnana or follow bhakti, moksha is the result of any of these paths. Now, let's be logical about this here. Karma, action. Karma accomplishes 4 things. Apyam, prapyam, vikaryam, samskaryam. Apyam is to procure something I don't have. To create something is what apyam is, to create something. Prapyam is to go out and get something. Apyam, creating something. Prapyam, procuring something. Vikaryam, changing something. Whether it's a present circumstance, whether it's an object, a karma that is done changes the situation from what it is right now to a different situation. Samskaryam purifies something. That is all that karma does. And anything done by karma has an expiration date to it. From this very human body to any action that we do. Which is why kids understand karma the best, more than anyone. Because when you tell them to make their bed, what is their awesome logic they provide? It's going to get messy again anyway. They understand that even when that karma is done, it's not permanent. As foolish parents, we are the ones that tell them to do it every single time as if it lasts, but they know better than us. They know it doesn't last. Anything that is created must be destroyed. So if karma does these 4 things, apyam, prapyam, vikaryam, samskaryam, moksha does not fall into that at all. Moksha is not a condition where I've purified this mind or changed this mind in some way that then it becomes infinite without any kind of limitation. That's not what moksha is. Moksha is that state upon realizing that this mind is unreal, my identification is with something higher, something permanent, something real, That's how I'm taken out of this cycle of birth and death and birth and death. So the only thing that gets me to that state of moksha is knowledge, jnana. Now, we can say, okay, Hariji, you're saying that knowledge is what gives liberation. Why worry about karma then? Why even go through this process of purifying this inner intellect? Simply go for knowledge and get realized. Why all this nonsense about karma? Okay? The function of knowledge is simply to illumine what's there. That's all it does. If there's a dirty room, sheets are everywhere, clothes are on the floor and everything, the way you can be in denial about it when you go to sleep at night is turning off the lights and you don't see anything. Turning on the light illumines the situation there. Does that do anything to clean the room? Karma is required for that. Similarly, with this inner instrument that I have, knowledge simply illuminates what is there. When that mind is ready to take in that knowledge, there is some change. Unless that happens, if this inner intellect is impure, impurity is in the form of likes and dislikes, karma is the only thing needed to shake me out of that then. Now, we saw the famous shloka in the second chapter, karmanyevadhikaraste. Talked about how I should not look forward to the fruits of my actions, simply do the action because it's my responsibility and my duty, and watch how that purifies my inner intellect. And what are the markers to see that I'm engaging in karma yoga? Markers are twofold. One is I have evenness of mind. The other is there is a finesse, some kind of grace in the work that I'm doing. And repeated again here in this third chapter, nacha sanyasanat eva, in the fourth shloka, don't give in to actionlessness. Because even if I say I'm not going to act, I'm not going to do anything, that's still an intention that I have, that's still an action that I'm doing. To sit there and do nothing takes a lot of strength. It really does. I mean, our politicians do it really well, but to sit there and do nothing takes a lot of strength to do. It's our nature to want to follow our desires. Do something. Whether it's to fill my stomach or to build a building, something that monumental, the impetus is there is some kind of like or dislike that I have. A desire is born from that, and an action is done to satiate that desire. At the very basic level, every action is because of that. Well, I found one beautiful book recently. Recently, I found this just a couple of days ago. It's a Prasad Pustika that was given out, only about 20,000 copies in print. For a Chinmaya Mission publication, that's pretty low. It's called Secret of Action. This entire third chapter of Gita, Puja Gurudev has, in a narrative form, really put into this book called Secret of Action. Now, what really stood out to me was the chapters in this book. This book has about 4 to 5 chapters, and the titles of those chapters, I think, really encompasses what the vision is of the secret of action. Because action, the biggest secret is, how do I remain happy in and through all of these actions? Because we say it's a duty and responsibility. Is there any joy in responsibility? Let's talk about our own kids here. All right, let's be honest. They're not here. They're in their Bhavihara classes. And don't watch the YouTube video around them then, okay? When they're born, that's when you feel that full weight of responsibility the first time. It's an oh gosh moment that, oh my gosh, what have we done? We're responsible for their human life now, you know? And I'm at the age now, lots of my friends are having kids, which is scary for me, that I've known these people since I was a little kid, and seeing how they turned out, how they take care of themselves in a certain way, their decision making, they are in charge of another life form now. It's not scary for them, but it's definitely scary for me. Thank God for Bhavihara, right? So you have that child. Every baby, this is the funny part here, even if the baby is like 2 weeks old, they start wondering, does it look like the mom, does it look like the dad? Every baby looks the same. Like a wrinkled old alien, every baby looks the same. At least our Indian babies have hair when they're born. Other babies don't even have hair. They even look weirder. But I always laugh when they say, is it like the mom, is it like the dad? Every baby has no nose. They have these scrunched up eyes, wrinkles on the forehead, everything. But the potential that that baby has, we can infuse anything into that baby at that point. And my baby can be president. My baby can be this, can be that. Then they turn about 2 years old. Tantrums begin, all of this. And the funny thing is, when we're in an airport, on an airplane, at a park or something, we see some other people's kids misbehave, we silently judge them. You know, why do they have kids if they can't discipline them? Look at this, kid's acting like this. When our kids do the same thing, though, at that age, oh, it's so cute to see, it's so fun to see, we don't say anything there. Our kids are perfect, they can do no wrong. I've heard this from parents, that's why I'm saying it, right? Then they get a bit older. Let's fast forward about 10, 15 years then. And then irrational logic starts from them. Where, Dad, you didn't get me the new iPhone, I hate you. Forget the fact that you put clothes on my back and food in my stomach and everything like that. This iPhone you didn't get me, therefore I hate you. Then we start questioning again. Why these kids? Why? Why did we go through having these kids? So at a certain point, responsibility becomes a burden then. We love our kids, but the responsibility of having to discipline, having to steer them in the right direction, saying the same thing to them again and again and again, gets cumbersome and tiring. It's like when we tell you not to park in the fire lane, It gets cumbersome and tiring. It has to be said again and again. It happens. But then when that responsibility is fulfilled, the markers for that responsibility being fulfilled or not is the result. The quality of a person you can tell in how their kids have turned out. Because it's not about what we teach the kids, what behavior are we modeling, that's how the kids respond. We had a kid that came to our Balavihar, he's always shouting at the other kids all the time. He's like a 5-year-old kindergartner. If a kid sat in his spot, our spots are very important. Even here now, I notice all of you are sitting in like similar spots as you always do. 1 week, I'm going to tell a few people sit in other spots, Look at the rage that comes up, and how can you sit in my spot? That's my spot right there. Because there's some spots in the back right there, if you sleep, I can't see you. Those are the best spots to sit in. It looks like you're awake, but you can still sleep. Not the back pew, I can still see back there. It's the second to last row. But that be a word of caution. If you want to sleep, sit in the second to last row. That's where I can't see really, really well. So spots are so important. The kid would yell like this about everything. Now I used to wonder, man, you're 5 years old. What is all this pent-up rage? What happened to you? It's like for certain forms of art, unless you've been through a certain amount of pain, that art does not come out really well. Ghazal singer is one of them, Ghazal singer is about what? Lost love? Nasha or something? That's all it is. That's all you can sing about. You have to go through that to be able to really evoke that. So like that, this kid is so udas all the time and so angry all the time. What is the situation? What is so bad? So then his family invited me for Bhiksha one day. That day, everything became clear. We walked in. So for Purna Kumbha for Swamiji, the husband didn't have the thali ready. Instantly, the wife smiled at us. How do you know? She said, hey, where's the thali? She yelled at him, and I was like, oh, this is where the kid, okay. Very nice, okay. So behavior is modeled then. It's not what we teach, it's what they see. That's how they get everything in. So the marker of, did I fulfill this responsibility as a parent is, how have the kids turned out? Now, if they have turned out professionally really well, personally, they have a great family of their own, intrapersonal relationships, they're likable, gregarious, very open with others, having a good disposition amongst them, that's a successful person. For all intents and purposes, the parent feels they've done their responsibility. Now, imagine that parent who's done everything right. Raised the kids the right way, taught them what discipline is, taught them to value others, to value what spiritual life is, all of these things, but the kid turns out in a different direction, where they don't respect others, they're quite selfish, that bleeds into their professional life, into their personal relationships, into their marriage, into how they treat their kids, all of this. Which is why so often at, chicks, parents will often ask, Brahmachari ji, you must meet. I went to a wedding last year in California. One of my dear friends was getting married. And one lady pulled me aside saying, I have to talk to you privately. Whenever someone says to me, I have to talk to you privately, I make sure it's outside somewhere so that they can see the murder weapon and everything in case something happens. So she said, you must meet a lot of boys and girls and everything. I said, yeah, chick groups we have, your age group I meet. She says, my daughter is turning 25 soon. We're looking for someone for her. I said, very good luck in your request. I was about to walk away. No. We still want to talk to you. We want someone like you. I said, Brahmachari? We want someone like you. What does that mean, Amma? She said, well, someone born and raised in this country. Oh, okay, there we go, okay. The way people phrase things, you get really scared. We want someone like you, okay. Born and raised in this country. Thank you, very nice. So can you please find us someone? I said, Amma, I'm not in that business. The what I teach is actually the other end of giving things up and not really getting attached and things like this. You're looking for boys, I'm also looking for boys and girls for a different reason then. At the age of 30, I'm the youngest brahmachari in this country. It's not a good thing. We need some more people to, come in and fill our ranks as well. My purpose is different. So she said, no, please be on the lookout. I said, okay. If that ends the conversation here, I'll be on the lookout, I promise you. But then I got to thinking, the markers we look for when looking for someone from our kids is, they come from a good family. To an extent that matters, coming from a good family. What's the guarantee that just because they come from a good family, that boy or girl is cultured and refined and good at what they do? That's no guarantee at all. So, if the marker that we're looking at for being a good parent is the kids turn out well, that's not always the case. Now, try telling a parent, the reason I'm bringing all of this up is, we've seen here that do not be attached to the karma or the result, simply do it as a duty. Let's put that in terms we all understand here then. Try telling a parent whose kid has turned out not the way they want them to, that don't worry. You did your duty as a parent, don't worry about the result. How would that parent feel? It gets real now, doesn't it? Vedanta is really easy to say from a stage like this. Especially when I'm never going to have kids of my own, it's really easy to say something like I just said. But as a parent, you understand, not being attached to that duty, not being attached to the result, is super hard to do. We can't but think of ourselves and our own self-worth and our value based on how we are as parents, how the kids turn out. Because no one laid on their deathbed with their family around them saying, I wish I spent more time in the office. I wish that I had done this business deal better. I wish I'd gotten this degree when I had the chance. Those are not deathbed regrets. What are deathbed regrets, though? Did I spend enough time with my kids? Was I there for my family when they needed me? Through different family crises, did I steer the ship, or did I cower away from things and let them figure it out? I talked to an elderly man a couple of years ago. He came to visit our Swamiji. He was comfortably in his late 60s. I was talking to him about his career, his life, and he said to me, I had 2 daughters. I was a single dad for much of it. And in my career, I started working for one company as their accountant. I never got promoted too high. There was one accountant position there. And the salary wasn't extraordinary or anything. Nothing changed, but I worked for them for about 40 years until I retired. I said, okay, do you feel any regret about that? You said that's your career. He said, no. The thing I'm proud of the most is, with my 2 daughters, because I didn't go for some kind of a hi-fi job that demanded too much hours and travel and everything, I never missed a single soccer game, never missed a single piano recital, never missed a school performance, never missed a parent-teacher conference. I was there for everything. I had such a schedule that I could drop them off at school and pick them up every day as well. He said, that is my biggest victory in life. Because of that, no matter what comes, my relationship with my kids and their families now could not be stronger. I'm not seeing the same thing in my friends. He said nothing against people that pursue those things, but this is what I prioritized and valued. This is how it turned out. So deathbed regrets then, they vary, but no one says, I wished I did that business deal or anything like that. It's usually always about family. Now, secret to action that Gurudev points out first in the very first chapter of this small booklet is inevitability of action. Inevitability of action. That there is no way I can escape from any kind of action. I can restrain myself to a certain extent, but these vasanas have to come out. Last week you saw they gave the example of how in Sandipani, the 1-year play that was put on. I started out by saying I don't want to be a part of it. I have to focus on studies and my health. Health wasn't too good. I was losing like 5 pounds a month. It was amazing in some ways, but it got really bad after a while. At a certain point, I came in for the first day to help write the script for 1 hour. A week later, I helped pick the cast a little bit, still staying away from it. Long story short, by performance day, I was the main actor and the director of the entire play. Vasanas have to come out. We can't help it. It's like drama that follows certain people. Wherever they are, there's always like a tornado around them. Chaos, people being angry with each other, just lots of contention, bad vibrations, things like that. The moment that person walks into the room, the whole mood changes all of a sudden. There are certain Mahatmas like that. They have that effect on people. It's not that problems always follow them. It's wherever they go, that's where problems persist. These vasanas are like that. And so to deal with these impressions, karma yoga is the only way to deal with it. Because what is the promise of karma done in the spirit of karma yoga? It is that the current vasanas I have, they get scrubbed away. No new remaining vasanas come about. Because I'm not doing it for a selfish motive, does not create any new impression. Scrubbing away what's there. Now, this is why our Guru Parampara system is so important. Because karma, done in the spirit of karma yoga, is not a one-size-fits-all approach for everybody. Oftentimes when there's service-oriented things happening, and we get different jobs based on our skill sets and what our vasanas are, there's a lot of objections saying, I only got this job, that person got that job, why is it that way? It's like saying if someone were to get injured, 2 kids get injured. One kid has like a small cut on his knee, the other kid has like a giant gash. For the kid with the small cut, you give him a small Band-Aid. A SpongeBob Band-Aid is what you give him. For the kid with a giant gash on his leg, you bandage that thing up. Now, what would you say if the first kid complained, saying, oh, he got a giant bandage, all you gave me was this tiny Band-Aid? And if you want that giant bandage, go tear your leg up even more, we'll give it to you then. But based on what the injury is, the size and intensity of what care you get varies. Same thing with action. If I am someone with the vasana of being very withdrawn, I don't take advantage of opportunity, I sit on the sideline, I don't work because I'm afraid of being judged and what people will say and being in the limelight, being pushed into those situations is the way I work on that vasana. I have an aversion to working with people. That's what holds me back. That's a dislike that I have strongly. To work on that vasana, I will find myself, through prarabdha, being forced to work with others. If I'm someone that only enjoys doing the bare minimum, more things will come on my plate. The world will work that way so that I have to extinguish the vasana. If I'm someone that jumps into everything, whether it's my duty or not, I'm jumping into every single thing that's there, then the way the world will work is I'll have to restrain myself from certain things. That's the vasana I have to take care of. Now, in our system then, who is the one person that can understand what my vasanas are and understand what kind of karma I must take up to extinguish that vasana. Who's the only one? The Guru. Not even myself. Look at Arjuna, being clouded by delusion, does not know what action to take or even to take action. I can't do it if I'm deluded. The Guru is the one that has to tell me. Meaning, how well do I have to know the Guru then? How well does the Guru have to know me? How much surrender do I have to have? As we saw in the beginning of the second chapter, that surrender is imperative for there to be any kind of impact, any kind of change on this personality. We talked about samskaryam as one of the goals of karma, one of the effects. Samskaryam is the purification of anything. To purify this inner instrument, then, that surrender is verily required. Now, also in this third chapter, what we find is a discussion on the devas. That what do you offer as a sacrifice? How does that make an impact? Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha. That nourishing those devas, they nourish me back. What does that mean? Do I have a sacrificial attitude to something higher than me? Something bigger than myself? Because I can go through all the actions that entail outwardly, ostensibly, what looks like karma yoga. It can be completely self-centered, though. Gurudev points to the person who is a mission sevak. Now, what do they enjoy doing the most? Being in front of people. That's what it is. Not about doing the actual work, but acting like I'm doing the work, but I need the praise of people. That's what keeps me going. It's like there was a man who was walking through a village, and he saw something interesting. To earn a few extra cents, there was a young boy. There's a pole about 10 feet high. That's about as high as a basketball hoop. The boy is running up the pole. And the way he climbs up that pole is, there's someone down there with bells, whistles, a drum and everything. As they play it louder and louder, the buildup has to be there. He's not going to do it for a crowd of 1 or 2 people, right? So they play all those drums and bells and everything. A good sizable crowd comes there so they can give dana later on, and this boy looks around, and then he climbs up that pole. Very impressive, tough to do. So this man was a thief, and he had a really good idea. He said, I've been inefficient with my burglary this whole time. I break down the door of the house I'm trying to rob, and I go there, I go upstairs, try to find their goods and everything, and then run away. There's an easier way now. Summertime, lots of people have their windows open. When we put this pole outside someone's house, middle of the night, this boy goes and climbs up, goes in the window, grabs everything, and we get out there. I'll give him maybe 30%, and we have a good scheme going. So we asked the boy, will you do this for me? He said, yes. It's the middle of the night, 3 a.m. He puts the pole outside someone's house. He says, climb up. And the boy looks at him, just confused, perplexed. He says, I can't do it. So what are you talking about? Just today, this morning, I saw you. You were climbing up the pole so easily. Just do it now. He said, no, you don't understand. Unless there's the drum and the bells and the whistles, I can't do it. I need all that stuff to go and do it. He said, if the drums are there, everyone's going to know. I can't really rob this place then. He said, no, I need that. I can't do without everything. So like that, some people can't go up the pole unless they have praise and affection and, oh, you're doing so good, la la, for everything. For kids, we need that to cajole them. As adults, it's pathetic when we need that to do any kind of action. That's not responsibility at that point. So action is inevitable no matter what I want, no matter how much I want. So with this sacrificial attitude then, that this is my duty, that's the way. Now Gurudev gets to that next chapter then. He says there is the secret of right action. What is that? Working with this intention of karma yoga. Near the end of Ramayana, Tulsi Ramayana, Bhagavan Shri Ramchandra ji is fighting Ravana in that final battle. And the compassion Karunanidhana of Bhagavan Sri Ramchandra Ji is, even in those final moments before slaying Ravana, he says, you still have a chance to live. If you return Sita Ji to me in this moment right now, I will still let you live, even at that moment. And of course, Ravana, deluded, says no. Ramji says something very interesting at that point. He says there's three kinds of people. There's the person who is like the tree, where this tree gives flowers, does not give any fruits, simply flowers. Second type of tree gives flowers and fruits. Third type of tree only gives fruit, does not give flowers. Those are three kinds of people in the world. What does he mean by that? First one, giving only flowers and no fruits, is nothing meaningful that they give as output. It's all a bunch of talk. At the end of the day, flowers are beautiful. Yes, we do offer them. But if you intrinsically look at a flower, it smells good, it looks good. Can you eat a flower and fill your stomach? I mean, kids do that on dares, but that's not something you can do. So a flower has no more purpose than just aesthetically looking good and smelling good. That's how some of us are then. Where outwardly we do certain things, but you look at substance of a person, what is the real output? It's not much. These are your bosses at work, by the way. That's how you rise, just by being a flower, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. The way you build connections is by being a flower. Second type of tree. It bears fruits and flowers. Where the fruit is something substantial, significant, necessary for the world, but they talk a lot about it as well. That's the flower portion of it. Any small thing they do, it has to be broadcast. Because if people don't know how amazing I am I still amazing? Right? Third type of person is that tree that gives fruits, no flowers. There is no discussion about what they've done. That work is simply done to fulfill that responsibility. Before someone can come and even recognize them for it, they vanish instantly. Ramchandra Ji says that third type of person is a quality person. You, Ravana, can never aspire to be that looking at the way you are. You are simply a tree that gives the most atrocious of flowers. So Pujya Gurudev says the secret of right action is rising to be that kind of a person then, without looking for any other benefit, simply does action because it is that right thing to do. But there has to be some joy of work. There has to be some reward that I get from work that makes me happy. Or else I won't do the work. Even when I do something for someone else, it's essentially to make me happy at the end of the day. I feel good about it when I do it. Imagine you drive from here, okay? What time is the Cowboys game today? Is it a night game or an afternoon game? Afternoon game? Then I gotta get home quick okay, I gotta get home quicker than usual then. So I'm driving back home right after this, rushing so I can have lunch and then watch the game and watch Dak throw interceptions again. But on the way home from Chitrakoot here, as I'm about to get on the highway, I see that there's a car that's stalled. And as I'm driving by, I look inside. It's a fellow mission member's car that's stalled, and he's on the side of the road. Maybe a nail in the flat tire, something like this. As a fellow mission member, not just a human, but a fellow mission member then, we stand as one family, remember? What is the right thing to do? To stop and help them. Even if that means missing Cowboys game? Okay, if you say so. Okay, stopping and helping them. I think I'm gonna stop, but then I say, hey, there are so many mission members going by this car. Why should I be so selfish and take this opportunity to serve? Others should also have that opportunity to serve. I can't just monopolize every situation and be so helpful. Lokekahenge, you know, if I do that all the time. Anyway, my kid didn't have breakfast, so their blood sugar is going low. We have to get home for lunch, can't stop. So I go about 1 more mile. Then guilt sets in at that moment then. that, man, I could have stopped and helped. I should have stopped and helped. And before you know it, I take the exit and go back to help then. Me stopping and doing that for that mission member wasn't for them then. It's for me. Because I can't live with myself having gone home, knowing that that person is stuck there. I cannot have gone home, enjoyed the game and all these other things. That weighs on my mind. So based on the example, it's clear. Oftentimes when I do that help, it's to make myself feel better as well, feeling like I'm being productive, doing my duty that I swore every week of We Stand as One Family, to help others. So the joy in doing any kind of work is, do I feel satisfied? Now here it's being given, don't look out for the result of the work that I do. Does that mean I should not be satisfied from work? Because that's one common misconception, a conclusion that we leap to is, if it says in Bhagavad Gita, don't worry about the result, that must mean that when the job is well done or I enjoy doing some kind of work, I shouldn't take joy in that. That's wrong. If serving that Bhagavan that I love is doing his work in his seva, why not enjoy that work then? And if results are favorable, do enjoy those results. Not that I should get carried away with those results and stake my entire existence and my validation on the result. If the results are good from hard work and a job well done, evenness of mind and finesse will bring good results. Enjoy those results. Nothing wrong with that. And if I see work that does not end in a good result as useless, Pujya Gurudev says the most hilarious but beautiful, profound statement, Narayana loves the smell of sweat, is what he says. That even that working and toiling has purified this inner instrument, that is what's necessary. Now, one final point on this process of Karma Yoga. Karma done in that spirit of Karma Yoga, it simply says doing your duty. Never says that only social non-profit work is Karma Yoga. Only work that is done for no monetary gain is Karma Yoga. Forget helping the family. Only work that helps other people outside the family is Karma Yoga. That's not given then. There are no qualifiers on what type of work, simply what is the duty. Because oftentimes people feel, I'm a homemaker, I only work at home serving my family, helping my kids, therefore what I'm doing is not really Karma Yoga. Those people out there helping thousands of people, that's real Karma Yoga. Nothing like that. If it's a duty that I must discharge, based on the station of life that I'm in, based on the responsibilities that come to me, doing that karma with that spirit of attachment, that is Karma Yoga. Now we take that to the extreme. My husband works in the office from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. every night. He's a Karma Yogi. It doesn't really work that way. What benefit am I looking for from that work? Is it steered toward this moksha purushartha of, let me cleanse my inner instrument, getting rid of these likes and dislikes? That's my ultimate goal through this karma. Now, how do I know that it's time to stop karma in the spirit of Karma Yoga and go to jnana? There has to be some point. Because we're all gate crashers into Vedanta, me included. We're not going through the preliminary steps. We've come to learn the highest knowledge while still trying to purify this intellect. When is it time to stop this karma and transition to jnana? Again, that's what the Guru tells me. It's not up to me to decide when that is. Again, this is why the Guru Shishya Parampara is so important. That comes from the Guru's dictate. So when we talk about that full surrender, it's not what we read in modern times of this is the Hindu patriarchy and this and that. That's not what it is. Surrender to that Guru and that pure relationship is the Guru has no benefit from whatever seva the Shishya does or work. It's simply an opportunity to cleanse that inner instrument, and the Guru guides on when is that right time. Now we jump to one beautiful shloka here. Two shlokas actually. Loka sangrahamevapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. Where the example of Janak Maharaj comes. For those people who have been perfected through action, meaning they have that purified mind, why do they still work? Puja Gurudev is also an example. After getting his highest knowledge, why did he continue to work for 40 years spreading this knowledge? Lokasangraha, only for the benefit of the masses, benefit of others then. That is true compassion. Not to make myself look good for no other purpose in that. Let me support others, help them on their path. That is the only reason for tireless work. Where likes and dislikes do not creep in at that point. You look at our Puja Gurudev, oftentimes people unwittingly make statements. Oh, he used to wear a nice watch. Look at the silk clothes that he wears. He used to travel in business class around the world. Yeah, that was much, much later on, near the end. There was a time in 1983, 10 years before he attained Mahasamadhi, Chinmaya Mission was at risk of going bankrupt. Finances weren't good. He used to travel in an AC-less, in his 60s, in an AC-less train, sweating bullets, writing and doing work on the train all the while. Sleeping in people's houses where his height was, 6'3" or 6'4", where the beds were not long enough. So either his head has to dangle or his feet have to dangle. He would sleep diagonally. If that didn't work, he'd sleep on the floor. In his 60s. So it wasn't that likes and dislikes and demands crept in. Work for the people. What purpose was there to work for the people? Nothing he was gaining from it, simply that compassion. Next shloka we find in this chapter, 21st shloka, also very important, is Yadyadacharati shreshtaha tat eva itaraha janaha. As the wise person does, so people follow that wise person. Because when do we actually follow any social norm or custom? It's when we see people following it and we have respect for them. The book tells me, Bhagavad Gita or Secret of Action or anything else, that this is the way to behave, this is the way to act, this is the mindset, all of this. Even if it's Shastra, that highest of pramana, highest means of knowledge, I won't believe it until I see it in action. So it's when I see people performing a certain way, then I follow that. Which this shloka reconciles other misconceptions I have within Bhagavad Gita. For instance, later on in Gita we'll find, when it comes to dana, giving in charity, sattvic dana is that kind of dana that's done not looking for recognition, simply because it's the right thing to do. Rajasic dana, giving in charity in a rajasic way is, I want my name to appear on buildings, I want attention for the charity I've given, my tombstone before my name should read, he gave this much in charity. People should know for eons how much I gave. It's a rajasic dana. So then the doubt comes to mind. You look at any of our Chinmaya Mission centers that we have here, in the lobby of every center we have a donor list. A gold plaque with people's names who have donated a certain amount. Hariji, how do you reconcile this? How is this possible? You just said that's Rajasic Dhanam, or be a Rajasic organization. This shloka is what matters there. When there are people, others who have given, I respect them for their walk of life, how they conduct themselves. I should also give at some point. That's the inspiration then. So we will be quick to judge, and I get this objection often that, oh, this is so wrong, you have their names there. What's the purpose? If it prompts others to give, nothing wrong in that then. As long as wealth is free-flowing, nothing wrong with accepting wealth as well for a job well done. It so happened once, this was in the 80s, I think in Siddhabadi, a devotee came to Gurudev and offered him a Rolex watch in those days, in the 80s. Now, how do you know what a true Rolex is versus a fake, a Folex? Weight is one thing, weightlessness. Other is every other watch, like my watch here, it ticks. A Rolex does not tick. It simply moves like this. That's how you can tell a real Rolex from a fake one. No ticking, it simply moves without any kind of break. So a real Rolex someone gifted him. And people thought, oh, Gurudev wearing a Rolex, getting a Rolex, this is so. 2 days later, literally 2 days later, a child had recently won a Gita chanting competition, and the child was not very well off, coming from a very meager family. The father came, brought his child to get Gurudev's blessings. Gurudev takes off the Rolex, gives it to the child, and says to the dad, use this for your son's education. We'll never let him think that chanting Gita cannot net him a living someday. 2 days later. Now, if I were the one that offered the Rolex to him, I would have sat there and said, Gurudev, that was for you. What is this? But he saw what the benefit was. And Gurudev was like that, giving away everything. There was nothing he held close at all. Once one couple came to him and said, we have not had kids, trying to have kids for so long, it hasn't happened. Can you give us some kind of blessing? So Gurudev said, I recently met one Mahatma. I got a packet of vibhuti from him. Let me give you that vibhuti. That's all. The least I can do is give you that. Just take this as a blessing. The family came back later and said, we had used that vibhuti and we're blessed with a child now. So Gurudev in his humorous way said, thank God I didn't use that vibhuti then. I would have had a child. I would have been pregnant then. So everything was free-flowing in that way. Beautifully compassionate. Now, why I bring up Gurudev is it's not just that he wrote about this or talked about it, actually lived that way. That's what Shrestha Acharya is. That code of conduct that abides by what the right thing is to do, that's how we get inspired then. So when it comes to 108th Jayanti celebrations of Gurudev, centenary celebrations, sometimes the younger people, and people like me that have never met him, we're very quick to judge and say, oh, this is hero worship, and oh, we're focusing on one person, cult-like. That's not the point, though. It's that when there is a living, breathing embodiment of what this knowledge is, that is the most worshipful thing. Because for us, Bhagavan is something abstract. Yes, I believe in Bhagavan, the Murti is there, I can do pujas, all of this. At the end of the day, living, breathing embodiment that's accessible to me. Is that true for us with Bhagavan? Until we get that darshan, it's still something abstract. The Guru, however, even if in videos and writings, is still that embodiment that's more accessible to me. Guru is that way to get to Bhagavan. As Tulsidas Ji humorously puts it, he says, Guru is greater than Bhagavan. Why? Bhagavan is the one that threw me into the samsara. Guru is at least the one that gets me out of it then. For that reason, at least Guru is greater than Bhagavan. It's a tongue-in-cheek statement he's making, but the point there being, without this Guru, there is no way out. And Arjuna is starting to realize this now. Not only is it Bhagavat Darshan he's had his whole life with Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the Guru is that new role that's taken now. So next time we'll look at the rest of this third chapter. Any questions? Yes, sir?
I think what you articulated earlier about vasanas manifesting, I think a lot of us can relate to that in our personal and professional lives. Also see that can cloud our judgment and how we go about it. So how do we find the Guru to help us guide through this? Is that a person? Is that more of some kind of environment? Should we get on a calendar, all of this?
Satsang environment is that first foray into it. But like I always say, I said this all last year as well, to really get that true essence of what this knowledge is, understanding what my tendencies are, to really introspect, my satsangs are not enough. I've only been a brahmachari for 4 years. What I'm saying compared to the real knowledge that's there is quite shallow, actually. This is my first time teaching Bhagavad Gita. Gurudev's videos, Gurudev's written works, introspecting, reflecting, discussing on those bears great fruit. When the senior Swamis, when Sarveshananji was here, when Puja Swami Swarupananji comes once a year, taking advantage of connecting with Mahatmas like that, that really adds depth to our understanding as well. So this satsang is a good start. But for the real depth then, Puja Gurudev, Puja Guruji's works, reflecting on those as much as possible, that's what bears the real fruit, to understanding what my own tendencies are. And the methods that are given in a book like Self-Unfoldment or Meditation in Life that Gurudev gives, it's like he's speaking to you as an individual. Does not feel like any other book where it's meant for the masses. It really feels personable there through the exercises, definitely. Any other questions? So again, October 13th, the high school hangout coming up. How many of you have high school kids? Yes, please do have them attend. It's open for non-mission members as well. So we had 60 kids that came for our last hangout last month. With this new addition of even non-mission friends to come, I want to get to 100. Let's grow, let's spread, and you may be thinking, Hariji, you have September high school hangout, October high school hangout, November high school walk-in. What is all this emphasis on high school? We need to build up our attendance numbers in Balvihar then. High school is that time where so many other things become a priority that mission attendance and real connection with the mission really falls away. We've taken that for granted as an institution. As we can't do anything about it. Growing up, my Christian friends didn't stop going to church. Muslim friends did not stop going to masjid. Jewish friends did not stop going to their synagogue. If they have such shraddha in what they do, and there is such a family emphasis on not letting that slip away despite what comes, they're also high achieving. What's stopping us then? Let's change that notion from an institutional level to the families that this still can be diligently done, and you can still have all the other good things that come from a quality education. And that's just my humble shot off the bow right here. So with that, we close for today, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks then. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om